We have a Joel Embiid injury update coming up after he injured his knee against the Atlanta Hawks on Friday. And speaking of Embiid, went on Tyrese Maxey's podcast and explained his biggest regret from the process years. It's a Monday edition of Philadelphia 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr., producer Chip on the ones and twos, and we appreciate you for being here with us. We'd also appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, and you're a winner at the end of the day if you do that, because you get free Sixers coverage year-round. Approaching 14,000 subscribers, all of our coverage entertaining, informative, and insightful, so lock us in and tap into 76ers Now. As for the latest on Joel Embiid, injured his knee during Friday's win against the Atlanta Hawks, played really well in that game against Atlanta. As of Monday morning, things trending in a solid direction for him. I think this is more of Philadelphia trying to mitigate potential more serious harm to Embiid's knee, given the injury history with him. He participated in shootaround on Monday morning, and he is listed as questionable against the Wizards on Monday night. Joel Embiid was seen wearing a knee sleeve at shootaround. I think that's a little bit precautionary. I mean, he played so well against Atlanta, and we know that Embiid loves playing against the Washington Wizards. What he's been able to do from the team from the nation's capital, which is awful, by the way, this year, pretty staggering and eye-popping. 2 matchups against Washington so far in the 2023-2024 campaign, and Embiid has gone off in both of them. He's averaging like 49 points. On November 11th, he dropped a 48-burger, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. He took 25 shots. He made 17 of them. He was a perfect 14 of 14 at the free throw line. And then recently, 5 days ago on December 6th, 50 points, 13 rebounds, 7 dimes, 19 of 29 from the floor, and 11 of 13 from the charity stripe. The field goal percentage, crazy. The points per game, unbelievable. But given Embiid's knee injury history and his overall injury history, is it really pertinent for him to suit it up and play against the Washington Wizards on Monday night? I want to see him go off yet again, but if he's not feeling able-bodied, just give him a rest. We know that the Sixers don't truly need Joel Embiid against this Washington team. Even though going back to that December 6th matchup, it was a little bit close throughout the duration of that ball game. If he's not healthy, let him rest, especially when you take a peek at the Sixers' upcoming schedule. There's an opportunity here for Philadelphia to really stack some wins over the next 5 games, and honestly, when you look at the schedule, there's really not an excuse to not win all of these games. You have the Wizards on Monday, Pistons on Wednesday, Pistons on Friday. Then you play on the road against the Hornets, and you take on the Chicago Bulls. You have a team that has so many distractions and dysfunction. You have a team that's without LaMelo Ball. You have a team that is worse than the process-era Sixers, and the Wizards are what the Wizards are. They're going to be probably top 3 in the NBA draft lottery for the 2024 NBA draft. And with that aforementioned easier stretch coming up, it could just buy Joel Embiid a little bit of time to get some rest. Under Nick Nurse, playing a little bit more because Nick Nurse likes to play his starters a little bit more. I think that's somewhat important to get the stamina level up a little bit. But in today's NBA, we know about load management. We know about injury management. And if Embiid isn't feeling good enough to play against Washington, I don't think that you have to play him. With that, we ask you this. Should the Sixers rest Embiid this week? R for rest or P for play? Let us know what you're thinking down below in the comment section. I think NBA fans across the league need to start appreciating what Embiid is doing. I know that they look at him and they're like, playoff choke artist. He's always flopping. What he's had to deal with throughout his entire career is crazy, and what he's been able to do is so unique for a 7-footer. And what he's doing this season is absurd. And this comes off the heels of him winning MVP last year and then having 2 NBA MVP runner-ups the previous 2 seasons. We're talking about a special stretch here for Joel Embiid. He's averaging 33 points per game, 11.5 rebounds. So he continues to be a great 2-way player in this league. Honestly, I think the improvements that he's been able to make are so impressive too, considering how late in his life that he started playing the game of basketball. He's led the NBA in scoring now the previous 2 years. This would make it a third consecutive year. But what I love to see from Embiid, again, it's the growth and the improvements. He's by far averaging the most assists in his career, up by more than 2 than the 4.2 that he averaged the previous 2 years. And then it's the two-way impact that he has that Nikola Jokic does not. Almost 2 blocks per game and then a steal per game. He is the best scorer in the NBA. And let me say that again. Joel Embiid is the best overall scorer in the NBA. What he has in his offensive bag and in his pocket at his size is really special. How he moves is incredibly unique. And Joel Embiid has an opportunity to lead the league in scoring for the third consecutive year. And over the last 30 years, only Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, and James Harden have been able to do that. And those are players where offense comes to them a little bit easier because they play at the wing, guard, and forward spots. Joel Embiid is a 7-footer, and he's doing this while scoring at all 3 levels. You look at these numbers right here with what Michael Jordan was able to do, Wilt Chamberlain, Joel Embiid, Elgin Baylor, Kevin Durant. Look at where Embiid ranks with his minutes per game, but also his points per game. That's really special because he's not playing as much as those other players. Yet the points per game production is still really good. Also, Wilt Chamberlain averaging almost 46 minutes per game is crazy. We will never see Wilt-like numbers ever again. But Joel Embiid, from him just being physically dominant and a unique physical specimen, he's kind of up there with like the Wilts and the Shaqs of when you watch them, you're like, damn, this dude is one of one. Very unique breed right there. StatMuse with this, most 40-point games by a center since 2000. I just threw out the name out there of Shaquille O'Neal. Joel Embiid has overtaken him and Nikola Jokic combined for the most 40-point games by a center since 2000. How about the most 50, 10, and 5 games on 60% shooting over the last 40 years? Joel Embiid now tied with Michael Jordan. I understand that we all want to see Joel Embiid make it past the second round of the playoffs. But if he wins an NBA championship at some point, if he continues to put up these numbers and has some deep playoff runs to coincide with that, we're looking at one of the best players of all time, and we're already probably looking at one of the best players of all time. Not enough people realize just how historic of a scorer Joel Embiid is. He didn't start playing basketball until he was a teenager. If you go back and look at his lone season at Kansas, he was so raw. I'll never forget the night he played Iowa State. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, this dude has the little shimmy shoulder shake along the baseline of Hakeem Olajuwon, but he's moving so well, and now he's added a 3-point game, so the growth of his game has been important. It's always about the rings or the free throws, never how dominant he really is. Embrace and admire how unique of a player Joel Embiid is and what he's been able to do for a long body of work. Will Embiid win his 3rd straight scoring title? Think about that. As a center, he could win a 3rd straight scoring title. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. I've criticized him. I've been critical of him for coming up short in the playoffs, but my goodness, the opportunity and the pleasure to watch him night in, night out, it is extremely unique. Coming up next, more Embiid. He talked about the process era as well as his biggest regret from that time, and he also talked a little bit about Ben Simmons as well. We'll get to that, but first, let's get to this. Great deal here. 50% off Factor meals when you use the code NBAChat50. Isn't it crazy how Christmas is just a couple of weeks away? I put up my Christmas tree last week. I love the scent of fresh pine in my apartment, and that took a lot of time. And during the holiday season, I don't have a lot of time. That's why I love Factor meals. You can treat yourself to high-quality, delicious meals over the holidays and choose from 35-plus chef-crafted meals every week that support a healthy lifestyle and meet your meal preferences, whether it's calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus, and more wholesome options. I know this bustling holiday season, you're looking for good nutrition. You want flavorful meals to fuel you up on some of these hectic days that are long and busy. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, and they can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with these chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals that are delivered straight to your door. You'll save time and you'll stay on track with that healthy lifestyle, all while tackling your holiday to-dos. And this deal is awesome. What's also awesome is that these are fresh, never frozen meals that are ready in just a couple of minutes. Factormeals.com/NBA Chat 50. They have smoothies as well. See for yourself using that link down below. Tyrese Maxey's podcast is a pretty good one. It's called Maxey on the Mic. Joel Embiid went on it and was asked by Maxey about the process years. And Maxey asked Embiid about Ben Simmons. This is hard-hitting journalism here from Tyrese Maxey asking some questions that a lot of people wouldn't, because we know that the Ben Simmons situation, it does bring about some controversy. And Joel Embiid actually had a surprising response. And this is sometimes when you ask those tough questions and why you ask those tough questions, because you do get very fascinating insight and answers. A note for anybody trying to get into broadcasting or journalism out there: study journalism at Temple University. No big deal. I've always been one of those people, Embiid said, that didn't believe Ben Simmons actually needed a jump shot. Like, he was so good, he's just a monster, almost as fast as you, Tyrese Maxey. I just believe that, if he could find a way to get his free throws to 75-80%, that would have changed everything. You could talk about this, could have happened, the mistakes that have been made during the draft of Mikal Bridges, but that's just one of the many franchise mistakes. But I think that's the perfect match. I think that's the one that got away. I hate the fact that things happen the way that they did. It's very interesting that Joel Embiid did say that about Ben Simmons. I was always of the belief and on the side where if Ben Simmons would have developed a jump shot, it would have made his life a lot easier. It would have made the Sixers' offense a lot more dangerous. Because if teams don't just sag off of Ben Simmons and they have to front him, the speed that Embiid talked about allows Ben Simmons to beat players off the dribble. Instead, they're 10 feet off of him. He has to dribble into him, and there's no space for him to really work with because he's just having these defenders sag off of him, where if there's the threat of the jump shot, pump fake, get past him, dribble drive, get past him, explosiveness, get past him, and then he's able to use that physicality and that body to really finish around the rim. It also just stretches the floor a lot more so that players don't sag off Embiid, making it a little bit easier to then go down to the low block or go to wherever Joel Embiid is. So I thought stretching the floor would have made things a lot easier for Simmons as well as Embiid, but then the shooting ability would have made Ben Simmons' job a lot easier as well. But Embiid brings up a good point with the free throws. And this is just classic Ben Simmons. He was never willing to go from being a very good player to a great player. And the great players, they work on their flaws. They work on their weaknesses. Ben Simmons never did that. No excuse for him to not become a better free throw shooter. Because if he did and became a better shooter, he would have been one of the best players in the NBA. And for a little bit, he was one of the best players in the NBA. And B also said that he wishes that the 2019 team quadruple bounce against Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors with Jimmy Butler. He wishes that squad got a chance to run it back, says he was upset over the constant roster changes. Jimmy Butler left, J.J. Redick left, Philadelphia brought back Ben Simmons, brought back Tobias Harris and paid him, brought back Brett Brown as well. Josh Richardson, bringing him in, that didn't work. Al Horford, that didn't work. There was a lot of roster turnover for a team that was so close to maybe making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I really liked the analytics. I liked the efficiency of that five-man unit with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and J.J. Redick, as well as Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler. Like, that was a good team that had a little bit of everything on both ends of the floor. The Sixers have definitely made plenty of mistakes in the past. They got to make sure that they don't waste Joel Embiid's prime. They've probably already wasted it a little bit because I think the Sixers team mentally, with the lack of mental toughness, could have used a player like Jimmy Butler on this team. I think it would have been a much better complement alongside Embiid as compared to a player like James Harden. They have Maxey now. He's playing at a borderline all-NBA level. And now, as we get closer to the trade deadline, do they make those necessary moves to really capitalize on this team being very good, but not necessarily being great? If you're subscribed to us here on 76ers Now, before we hop on out of here, I want to do a real one roll call because we appreciate you for your support of the channel.